Hi to all of our friends from Field Glass and Swigot. My name is Phil Crozier. I am the brand ambassador for Wines of Argentina for the whole of Europe. I'm going to discuss with you 3 Malbecs for Malbec World Day, which is on this Saturday. Just to let you know that Field Glass and Swigot have 10% off their Malbec range from Argentina until the 22nd, and if you stick until the end of the video, I'll give you a little bit of a heads up on how you can get a little bit more discount as well. So the thing to remember about Malbec in Argentina is that 99% of all the Malbec that's grown in Argentina is grown in the Andes Mountains that you can see here. And we start in Patagonia, we go up through Mendoza and then the province of San Juan, La Rioja, and we eventually end up in Salta and Jujuy. And as you're going further north, you're getting higher in altitude. Well, we need to go higher in altitude because we need that cooling influence for the grapes. So the further north you go, the higher you get. So we go from Patagonia, which is between 250 and 450 meters above sea level, up through Mendoza, which goes from around 400 meters until 2,000 meters above sea level, and then right through San Juan and La Rioja up to the provinces of Salta and Jujuy, which are home to 95% of the world's highest vineyards. And we need to go higher because we need to get cooler. So another general rule of thumb when you're looking at where your Malbecs are from is that for every 150 meters you're going to the west, that is up into the mountains of the Andes, you're losing about 1 degree Celsius. So if you take Mendoza, for example, if you go to the east of Mendoza, somewhere like Maipú, and then work your way down to the Uco Valley and up into a place called Gualtajari, we're going from around 400 meters to around 2,000 meters. So that's the same difference in temperature as you'd get from a warm Tuscany year to a cool Burgundy or Champagne type climate. The soils are all alluvial because the Andes range is relatively young compared to some of the other ranges in the world. And in some areas of the Andes we find chalk, which is kind of an indication of sort of higher quality wines. We'll go through that in a moment. So anyway, we're going to start in the north with 3 Malbecs that are available at Field Glass and Swigot. We're going to start in the north in the province of Salta. This is in a valley called the Calchaquí Valley, and the Calchaquí Valley has mountains either side, so it's just sort of east of the Andes main range, and we are in the world's highest vineyards here. We go from around 1,650 meters to around, well, exactly actually 3,111 meters above sea level. And the first wine we're going to try is the Amalaja Malbec. This is from the same people that make the Colomé wines that are home to the highest vineyards in the world. This is from the town of Cavajati, lovely little town. If you ever find yourself up there, stay a few nights and drink some fantastic wines. This is the most famous place in the north of Argentina for its wines, and they are very distinct. Why are they very distinct? Well, because they have the altitude means that we have extremely high levels of ultraviolet light. There's another general rule of thumb here that ultraviolet light, the UVB rays that hit the grapes increase by about 12.5% for every 1,000 meters you go up in elevation. So that hits the grapes. The grapes develop very thick skins and a lot of color. The part of the polyphenols in the grapes, the anthocyanins, which are the color part of the grapes, and we get a lot of color. So this is the color that you get. It's extremely dark color. There's no mistaking the color of Malbec from Salta in the north. Also means we have more tannin, so the wines tend to be a little more gutsy, and also because we have 330 days of sunshine here, we tend to have a little bit more sugar in the grapes, and therefore we have a little bit more alcohol. So the alcohol is generally fairly high up here. So, but there's always balance in these wines. So this is made without oak, made in Cavajati. I like Malbec without oak. Malbec really shows its true expression. It's a very pure expression of this place, and it's actually quite traditional to make your wines without oak up in Salta. And that's because the barrels had a tendency, before we have the technology today, to dry out. Because it's so dry up here. We get about 150 millimetres of rain a year, which is kind of an average weekend in Manchester, near where I live. So we have very low rainfall. So we have to be very careful of the fact that we have very low humidity as well. Low humidity is good because it means that we can farm organically. We don't really have any problems with pests or any molds or mildew or any rot in the vines. Far from it, quite the opposite. So we have lots and lots of sun, very dry conditions, and the water, of course, is fed from the snow on the Andes. So we get this, it's very typical from Salta. We got this very nice sweet spice, black fruits, incredibly rich colour, very aromatic. The wines from up here, high altitude wines, do tend to give you a lot of aroma. And yeah, you can feel there's a bit of grip from the tannins, but it has a lovely soft, they give way to a lovely soft mouthfeel. I would have this with food, a nice bit of red meat, maybe lamb or beef. If you're out doing your barbecue, then I think it's the perfect wine to go with that. These wines, by the way, should really be drunk at around 18 degrees. So don't feel shy about putting these in the fridge for an hour or two before you get to drink them. It just calms the alcohol down a little bit, and actually you get more of the fruit expression in the wine too. So that's the Amalaja 2019 Malbec. As I said, 10% off from the Calchaquí Valley, a little place called Cavajati in Salta, the northern province of Argentina. And if you go to Argentina, you have to go here. It is a place which is magic, and you feel like you are stepping back a few hundred years here. It's almost like the land that time forgot. It's really beautiful. So anyway, I'm just going to finish this off, and then we're going to go to the next wine. Now, over the last few years, Argentina has started to form these geographical indications. These are political boundaries normally that make one region distinct from the other. And we go down south, just before we hit Mendoza, we go to a province called San Juan. This is the second most important wine province for wine production in Argentina. And there are some new valleys here that are being planted. The most significant of which is a place called Pedernal, which is really only being planted in the last 20 years. And what makes this distinct? Well, we have very high altitude here. We go from around 1,400 to 1,900 meters above sea level, so it's nice and cool. We have these winds that come down, the very famous Zonda winds that come down, keep everything nice and dry and clean. And also, this is the only place in the Andes Mountains where we grow grapes, where we find flint. And so that is the reason why we have this wine here, the Pyros, which refers to the sort of struck match fire kind of character that you get from the flint in the soils here. We also found some calcium carbonate, some chalk as well. These are very, very old soils. These are marine soils rather than being alluvial soils. So this place, of course, the Andes, for many millions of years ago, was once below the sea. So this is a very unique place, and people are very excited about it. The name of the place is Pedernal. This is Pyros Malbec 2016. And again, we have this lovely colour that you get from the very high altitude. If you look at the way in which it moves around the glass, you get these sort of flashes of purple. Make sure you have a nice big wide glass for Malbec when you're drinking, so you can get all the aromas. And this, yeah, it's much fresher. It has a fresher feel to it. It's very pure. You can feel there's a little bit of oak in this wine. Well, this is oak and Malbec, of course, it traditionally goes very well together, but it's in the background. It sort of supports the beauty of the fruit here. It has a lovely sort of lemon verbena acidity on it. It's very bright. It has a lot of energy. It's almost electric in its energy. This is what I love about this place. And once you know that it's from a place that has this flint in the soils, it kind of helps you to understand the style of the wine. So this, for me, is one of the most exciting new regions in Argentina. So look out for this place, IG or Pedernal. Beautiful place. Very bright. There's more red fruits than black fruits in this. It has a lovely acidity and a purity and a freshness to it. I love these wines. I think they're great. They really are very different from anything else that you'll find in Argentina. It's a very unique expression because of these soils and, again, the high elevation. So it's a 2016, it's had a little bit of time to age in the bottle, which, you know, the question is, does Malbec age? Well, I think it does. I think if it's coming from high elevation, I think if it's coming from a place where we have some chalk in the soils, somehow it tends to lend to the ageability of these wines. It's great, but would I want to drink these wines when they're 20 years old? Well, I'll let you know in 20 years' time, but I like these wines when they're these kind of wines at this kind of price level, 5-6 years old, they're perfect. You still get the expression and the purity of the fruit, which is what this grape is all about, but you get a kind of tertiary flavours, you get a little bit of melding together of all the tannins, and for right now I think this wine is absolutely on form. It's perfect. It has a beautiful electricity about it. It's very bright. You could drink it on its own. But again, it's a great food wine because it has such great acidity. And it's completely different. It's a little bit of sort of struck match, and that's not because it's reduced in any way. It's just this lovely kind of flinty, tight in the mouth, very electric kind of quality to it. So look out for this region. You're going to see a lot of more wines from here in the future. So we're going to move down south to Mendoza. Mendoza is the wine production area of Argentina that has the most vines. We have around 46,000, nearly 46,000 hectares of Malbec in Argentina, more than anywhere else in the world, which is why we celebrate this day. And vast majority of that is in Mendoza. About 75% of the production in Argentina is in Mendoza. And Mendoza is not just Mendoza. We have lots of different regions in Mendoza. Mendoza is about the size of Wales. And so we go further south. We're getting cooler because we have a little bit of a latitude going in here. And we go to the Ucayali, which is about 2 hours drive from Mendoza city. And it's very, very cool here. We have high elevation. We go from around 1,000 meters above sea level right up to 1,900 meters, where we have new vineyards in a place called La Carrera. And there are new places being planted all the time. And the Ucayali is divided into 3 departments. To the north, we have Tupungato. In the middle, we have Tunuyán, which is separated by 2 rivers, one called Las Tunas, the other one called the Tunuyán River. And to the south, we have San Carlos. And within those 3 districts, we have sub-regions. And these are now all being given these geographical indications. And sometimes you'll see this on the label, and at other times you'll see, for example, this wine here, the last wine, which is Altos las Hormigas, which means, talks about the ants. It's a big problem, ants, in Argentina. When you plant vineyards, they get very greedy and start munching on your vines. Altos las Hormigas have been planting vineyards in the Ucayali, like so many other wineries in the last few years, and they have vineyards in all 3 departments. In Tupungato, a place called Hualtajari, in Tunuyán, in a place called Vista Flores, and to the south, in a place called Paraque Altamira, in San Carlos. Paraque Altamira is actually the only region that has been given IG status in Argentina due to its soil profile. We have a lot of chalk here, also in Hualtajari. So they can see the potential of this place, and they've made a blend of Malbecs from these 3 different vineyards, which represents the Ucayali. And this is what this is where all the cool kids hang out. This is where everybody's planting. Altos las Hormigas is the winemaker Alberto Antonini, very famous winemaker around the world. He makes wine in a lot of places. He came to Argentina in the late 80s and fell in love with the place, saw the potential, and Altos las Hormigas have become very well known. It's a small winery. They don't produce a huge amount of wine, but what they do produce is of very high quality. So you can see again these lovely flashes of purple. We have this cool climate kind of look with this very deep colour. Of course, we're at high elevation, so the elevation is anything between 1150 up until about 1400 meters, 1500 meters above sea level. And the coolest part is actually in the south, in San Carlos, in Paraque Altamira. Is right up against the mountain, so it gets all the elements from the mountain. They make a number of single vineyard wines as well from these three regions. But this is a very nice expression of what you might expect from this place. And a lot of wineries have been planting here, or they're buying fruit from growers here. It's an old region of wine production. It's not new. But it's gaining a lot of recognition around the world for the quality of the wines from this place. It's kind of the Grand Cru area of Mendoza. Not to say that they aren't great wines from other regions too. So we have this lovely soft round nose. Again, it's very aromatic, it's very bright. I would, if I were you, this is a 2017, maybe decant it for an hour before you drink it. I personally like to see the evolution of the wine over time. So if you've got a bit of time and you're going to be drinking it over maybe a couple of days, start it from when you open it and then see what the evolution is like. For me, that's one of the joys of wine, is the evolution in the wine over time. I get a bit nerdy about that, but that's what I get paid to do. So yeah, some really soft black, but also red fruits, very aromatic, violets, the typical kind of nose that you might get from the Uco Valley, but also fresh herbs, sort of sage and rosemary we get from here as well. And the chalk keeps everything in check. We have this kind of very tight directness about the Uco Valley. It's not big and soft and round like you might find from Salta, but it's more feeling on the middle of the palate, which means that you get a lot of purity fruit from here as well. Like so many of the wineries in Argentina, Altos Las Hormigas, 20 years ago, many of the wineries were using a lot of oak to quite sometimes it would mask the fruit a little bit. And like everybody, they've been holding back on the oak. The oak is becoming less important. It's also becoming more expensive. So it makes sense, really, to use much less oak and let the wine speak for itself more, the Malbec speak for itself more. But it's very interesting having these three wines, and you get very, very different expressions of the grape, but you do recognise that it is Malbec. You get the lovely soft palate, the deliciously chocolatey tannins, you get varying levels of brightness and acidity, but you get this purity that runs through these wines. So I'm going to finish up here. Just one more thing. If you want to get an extra 5% off the wines when you order them online, just put into the basket Malbec Day /Phil, that's PHIL, that's my name, and you'll get an extra 5% off. I know it's only 5%, but thank you very much for staying with me. And yeah, enjoy Malbec World Day, Saturday, 17th of April. And yes, you must only drink Malbec this weekend, please. Nothing else will do. This is a fantastic grape for Argentina and a fantastic grape for the world. And I wish you all a great weekend and enjoying your Malbecs.